You got it locked on Roadium Radio.
Due to circumstances beyond anyone's control, Dr. Dre is in the motherfucking house. So right about now, and I say, yo Steve, are you with me? ICE, are you with me?
Here's a little something about a nigga like me. They never should've let me buy a tape from Steve. Ice Cube would like to play dope shit mixed by Dr. Dre. And since I was a youth, I like COMPTON. Now I like the motherfucking Roadium. Buying a tape or two, that's what the hell I do. You don't like Tony A? Well, fuck you, this is a game. And I'm in it. Ice Cube will fuck you up in a minute with a right, left, right, making you sick. And then you see Tony A is on the mix.
Tony A! Tony A! When you're ready, go.
Welcome back, everyone, to Roadium Radio, episode 294. And before I introduce my very special guest, just got some minor announcements I want to make. I want to thank everybody that turned out yesterday to the Lighter Fluid event hosted by Viva Mezcal. There was a bunch of talented artists that performed yesterday. It was a great event. I'm not sure exactly on what platform he is putting it on, but I know on his page you can go visit Viva Mezcal and it'll have all the info there, highlights of last night. It was actually, I believe, my first interview before a live audience, and it was a great turnout. And so I want to thank everybody who came out and supported this event. I think we need more events like this. And if you guys would invite me, I'd show up. You know, you guys already know I'm for the culture. I support the culture, and you guys support me, and I support you. So let's keep it going. So I want to thank everybody once again for that. But it's funny because one of the Coyote, in other words, Yodis, the group, approached me yesterday, and he wants to be on Freaky Tales. So he said he's got a lot of freaky stories to tell. So we're going to find him a date and bring him on so he can share his freaky stories, his freaky tales. Other than that, once again, the other day we had Yuck Mouth from the Loonies on Smoking with the Wizard. We had Be Real on Smoking with the Wizard. We have the episode To Live and Die in LA, which most of you guys missed because of the rain, but now you can watch the interviews that we had. So other than that, we have a lot of great episodes that you guys could go back and tune in and check out. But without further ado, I just want to introduce my very special guest. I don't think that I've ever had a guest like this on this subject. I think today we'll be a little bit more educated on this subject, on this young man's life. I've had a lot of people here that I've interviewed, but I think this one will be very educational, very beneficial to a lot of us. So I hope that you guys tune in and share this with your loved ones and those that need to be educated or informed, I should say, with this topic that we're going to talk about. So without further ado, please allow me to introduce Paul Avila.
Yes, sir.
Paul Avila, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing good, brother. I can never complain. I'm not one that will ever complain. You know what? Life is good. Every time I open up my eyes, it's a blessing to me, honestly.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
It's a blessing. So, before we actually jump in and we begin to talk about your son, I never get nervous for like when I do a show, when I perform, I'm DJing in front of a group, for a group, or just DJing for a nightclub, or even when I do interviews. But for this one, I was a little nervous because I don't know too much about the topic we're going to talk about as far as autism, okay? So if I approach you with a question that possibly I didn't use the right words, I'm asking you to please forgive me ahead of time.
Sure.
Because I don't know.
Yeah.
So what I ask you is to correct me, and then to inform us, possibly what is the proper way to ask.
Yeah.
So once again, I apologize if I ask incorrectly, but
no
I'm just misinformed.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
before we touch on that, tell us a little bit about who is Paul Avila. Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, definitely. I actually grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, youngest of five. I got 3 sisters and a brother, a very tight knit, you know, Hispanic family. You know, dad wasn't around too much. So I kind of had to grow up a little quicker. You know, my mom did her best and always praying for us. And, you know, my family definitely laid the foundation. You know, like I said, my mom was, you know, such a huge part of my life growing up. And, yeah, got into sports. You know, obviously, you know, not having pops around, got in a little trouble in my teenage years. But yeah, that was it, man. I loved sports. I loved music. You know, that was my upbringing.
You can put me back on. Sorry about that, you guys. Oh my goodness. I took a drink of damn Gatorade.
Wrong pipe. I
Yes.
get that, man. It's the worst.
So forgive me for that. But let me get my vocal cords back. So
I'm getting you nervous, Tony. What's going on? I'm just kidding. I know.
no, you
Wrong
know what? I'm
pipe.
sorry about that. It's just that
It happens.
I think it's the first time I ever coughed this much. I didn't even cough this when they were smoking on the show.
Right?
So-
So without all the smoke.
So 1 of 5 kids. What number are you?
I'm actually youngest of 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was a little baby, so I was always trailing my mom around. Like I said, dad left, you know, unfortunately when I was born, but we were a real tight knit family, and you know, just under my mom's wing, you know.
When you said that your dad left, about how old were you?
I think pretty much near when I was born, you know.
Oh, really?
He was never completely out of my life, you know. He was always in and out, but you know, I think when I went in my teen years, that played a big role. You know, you start messing around, getting in some trouble, and I just didn't have the man to crack the whip. You know, my mom tried her best, but you know, you go out and explore, and you know, things happen.
You know, let me ask you this: not your pops took off when you were pretty much born. Was he in your life at all, like growing up, though?
Yeah. It would
Okay.
be, you know, kind of hit and miss on the weekends and stuff like that. So yeah, I never say I completely had like an absent father.
Okay.
It was just more the crucial times, you know, 99% of the time I was with
Yeah.
my mom, you know, so it was, she was more lax, you know. Example would be Paul, you know, I was always a picky eater. What do you want on your hamburger? I just want ketchup. I go with my dad on the weekend. What do you want on your hamburger? Just ketchup. You're getting onions, relish, blah, blah, blah. Then he'd be there for 2 hours. You ain't going nowhere till you know, so it was like,
Right,
it was like a
right.
boot camp. It was night and day, you know, and, but no, I mean, to this day, you know, I love my dad. He's still around. We talk, you know. I think as we've gotten older, the 5 kids, he's trying to get closer to us. So it's like,
Right.
we kind of missed those years, but you know, it is what it is. And it's all love, you know, it's kind of forgive and forget,
Right.
you know, but
Okay.
I think my life would have went a little bit different had I had him a little more, you know, in my life, but it's all good, man.
Well, I'm glad to hear that he at least was in your life, because I truly believe that, you know, fathers are very, very, very important.
Sure.
You know, and I believe that us fathers need to be very, very instrumental in our children's lives. You know, I have 4 kids, 4 grandchildren, and I'm there for them. You know, of course, sometimes you do got, like you said, you do got to crack the whip.
Yeah.
You do got to discipline them. You know, growing up, disciplining my kids, you know, as my kids were growing up, it was very, very tough, because now I'm doing what my parents did to me. I had my mother and my father. And the thing was that I would tell them, Mija, you're not going to understand right now, but later on. I only share that because today I was at my daughter's, her place with her and her husband, and they just had a newborn. This was my 4th grandchild. And today she told me something. She goes, you know what, Dad, I realized something today. And I'm not going to go into detail, but she said, when you told me that one day, I'm going to discipline you and you're going to learn, you won't know why right now, but later on down the line, you goes, I understand now.
Yeah.
I do. So I think a lot of times, us as kids, we think that our parents are mean. We think that our parents are being cruel. But let me say this, when it all comes down to it and your back is against the wall, there's only 2 people that are going to be there right for you. It ain't going to be the homies. It's going to be your mother and your father.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So
Everything kind of comes full circle. It
Yes.
evolves. At the time, you don't understand, you know, why are they this and that? And then, like I said, you know, prime example, now we're that person. And
yes, now
you
we're
know,
that person. You know, like
Exactly.
give you another example. I have 2 boys, 2 girls. One of my boys was hanging around, one of my sons was hanging around with his homies. Well, he ends up doing something stupid, ends up in jail. Okay. He didn't call his homies to get him out.
No.
He calls the person that he wasn't talking to for a long time. Dad, can you help me?
Yeah.
And of course, like a father,
Yeah.
I will go help him. But I did that to teach him a lesson that we're here for them, just like the same way that you were there for your son.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but that's one thing that I hope that the younger generation understands that your parents are not against you; they're for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're for you. I asked my son that one time, my youngest son, when we got into an argument, and he just said, "Oh, you're always mean to me. You're always trying to discipline me." So I just asked him one question. Mijo, I want to ask you one question. And I want you to look at me face to face and tell me, do you think I am for you or against you? And it took him a while, and he said, for me.
Yeah.
He realized,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But now, as far as you, Paul, so you grew up in San Gabriel Valley.
San Gabriel Valley, yeah.
San Gabriel Valley. And what was it like growing up in, you know, I believe a Mexican home, correct?
Yeah. No, I mean,
I know you said your father was absent.
Yeah.
You and your brothers into sports.
Yeah.
You know,
I always feel like there was like a big gap between, you know, there was a big gap and I was the youngest, you know.
Yeah.
So when I say I had one mom, it was actually four moms because I had three older sisters. Paul this, Paul that, you know. So, like I said, being the youngest, I was just always the quiet one in the corner, kind of soaking up everything. But no, it was typical, you know, Sundays, mom makes chorizo, we go to church, you know. We had like our little routine. My mom kept us busy. You know, I thank God for her, man, being a single mom. Like she went through so much with my dad, but she put all that aside. She never talked bad about it. And she's like, I'm zoning in on you kids. There's sports, there's church, school, whatever, homework, you know, and she put in so much groundwork with us, and I just thank her to this day. But yeah, I know, like, once I hit junior high, it starts, you know, you start hanging around people. I went that whole scene of, like, I got to create records, and then start getting into the hip hop, like hardcore rap, and then we used to go to family in East LA, the breakdancing thing, and then my other cousin was into graffiti. It was like that whole movement in the early '90s, and it just opened my eyes. And then, yeah, man, I think like my troubles was getting in the graffiti world, you know, for a while. So it was, you know, to the extent of getting kicked out of school for that, and just hanging around some knuckleheads, having fun, you know, exploring, and yeah, so there was some little troubles. It was more lighter stuff, you know.
Right.
As I got older, and I'll share with my journey with Paulie, then I started getting a little deeper stuff, you know. It started getting a little more crazy, but I was still tame enough where he could pull me back. You know, my mom's like, "Come on, what are you doing?" You know.
Right.
So, it was a typical knucklehead stuff. You know?
Okay. Now, as far as your son, is he the only son you have?
Yeah, I have one son, Paulie. Yeah.
And Paulie, how old is Paulie?
So, yeah, Paulie is going to be 26 in April.
Okay.
And I think when we had him, it was like straight out of high school. So it was like quick. So I think mom was 18, I was 20, you know, and it was kind of one of those things like, oh, baby on the way, you know, and nervous, panicking. It was like, oh my God, like we were just so scared, you know, to tell our parents. And, you know, time wasn't on our side. It's like, okay, the months are coming up. And, you know, so yeah, it was just having to share with everybody. And
I think it's always tough, you know, for an example, you said you were 20, she was 18.
Yeah.
It's always tough to like get together and say, man, we got to tell our parents.
Oh yeah.
It's really, really tough, but you know what? It's always good.
Yeah.
Honesty is always better. At least your parents may not like it because they're going to think you guys are not ready.
Yeah.
And believe me, we understand that we've all been there.
Of course. Yeah.
But how was it like? Who did you guys tell first? Did you tell your parents first, her parents first?
I actually told my older brother because he's almost like my father figure, you know. So I told my brother Robert, and then we brought in my mom, you know, it was a whole thing. And so that was a little tough. And then her side we were a little more nervous of because their mom was going to come unglued. So we had the game plan, like, all right, we got my brother, my mom, those are my main two people.
Right, yes.
Let's go hit up the parents. So I was like, let's get a game plan, and then we'll come in, we'll talk to your mom, we'll just drop the bomb. It is what it is. Well, I don't know what happened. They got in an argument, and she just straight out told her mom, and it was just a big old. So by the time she told me get down here now, my mom knows. I'm like, dude, that wasn't the plan. So I went down there just like I was freaking heart pounding, and I just walked into a big old mess. Like, how could you do this to my dog? What? And I was like, look at her, like this wasn't how it's supposed to go down. But at that point, I was like, hey, it is what it is. But you know, it was the initial like anger and shock, and she had to let it off her chest as a mom. And then she mellowed out and hugged. It is what it is. What are you going to do at this point? So we work through it, you know.
Okay. Now, if you can walk us through, when is Paulie born?
Yeah. So Paulie, is April, you know, of '97. And at that point, again, we were so green, we were so young, and I want to say when Paulie was about like 3 months old, and we didn't even know he was blind, I saw one of his eyes wander that way, one wandered the other way. And I was talking to people. I was like, yeah, something looks a little off. But they're like, well, when they're babies, their eyes wander. They can't really focus yet. So I'm like, that's true. So we went to the pediatrician, and he when he did the eye exam with the light, it's almost like he saw a ghost. Like, he didn't want to tell us. He's like, oh, my God. I'm like, what's wrong? And I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't good. And he's like, you know what? Just go to Children's Hospital. I was like, we'll go tomorrow. And he's like, go now. I'm like, oh God, that doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah.
So I just remember, me and Mom went down there, Children's Hospital, and it was just so quick and black and white. It was oh yeah, your son's blind, and it was literally like somebody punched me in the stomach. 22-year-old father thinking, man, I'm thinking sports, my son's gonna drive, I'm thinking all these things, and when you find out he's blind just in a split second, it knocked the wind out of me. And I remember we took our moms, so her mom went one way crying, my mom went to the street crying. Mom was there with her head down, and I was just there left with like, what the hell just happened? It was devastating.
Yeah. Because I don't know, and possibly people listening would like to ask, and we're going to give people an opportunity that if you guys want to ask Paul something pertaining to, his son or the
Paulys Project,
yes.
Organization,
you guys can call in later on. So I'm going to try to ask the best, I guess, to the best of my ability when it comes to this. You guys didn't know that he was blind. You guys went to the doctor. They told you. Did they ever explain like why things like this happen?
No, I mean, as far as we knew, everything was like normal. From what he was born on time. It wasn't like premature. There wasn't these signs. They did all the tests. Everything was normal. So that's, I think, was the biggest shocker. Sometimes if there's little signs, or they might, give some little hints about something, but we had absolutely no idea. It came out of left field. And looking at him, I have old pictures, and he looks like he's smiling in the picture. He's a month or two. You'd have no idea, So we were literally clueless. We went into that, having no idea. So that was rough,
Now, so you said her mother was there and your mother was there. So obviously you took it really tough. And believe me, I will never say something like, "Oh, I know what you went through." No, because I don't know what you went through, And it must have been really, really tough. And I'm sure it's somewhat tough even now.
Oh yeah.
Now, as far as him, like knowing that he was blind, was there certain things that you guys had to learn to deal with a blind child?
Yeah. So he got, I'm trying to do like it's old. He's got to be 26. So I was trying to remember the timeline. So at that point, I think he was like 3 or 4 months old. We found out he was blind. Excuse me. And then as he got older, he always seemed like he was delayed and stuff. So it's like everything in my mind, I'm thinking Stevie Wonder. I'm like, well, Stevie Wonder's blind, but he could do this. He could talk. He could walk. So something else was up, and I'm like, man. So he's 3 years old. Why isn't he walking still? Why isn't he talking? Something else is not right, So, again, it's that horrible, when the pediatrician says, go to Children's Hospital, it's not good, So he said that, and he says, yeah, something's not right with Paulie, Again, he's Paul Jr., we call him Paulie. And he was like 3 or 4, head down to Children's Hospital, see the neurologist. So we're like, okay, something's going on up there, where something was delayed, And again, it was just like, punch in the gut. Yeah, we were going to run some tests, and they were leaning towards that he was autistic as well. And I just remember they said, it's going to be a tough battle because most autistic kids are nonverbal. And then if he's already blind, he can't see. So you're probably going to have a child who can't see and talk. That's a tough one because normally it's one or the other. So most of the time you hear, my son's autistic or he's blind, but it's very rare when they're both because it's an uphill battle. Wow. When, because autistic kids, maybe they're nonverbal, most of them aren't. But they could at least point like, I want that food or something.
Right.
Or flip side, if they're blind, at least they can talk. I want that or whatever. So it's hard to people to even comprehend or wrap it around your mind. If I were to bring Paulie right now and put him in the room, he'd be like, I don't know what the heck to do with this kid. Because again, he can't see and talk. He just sits there. But I know all the little signs, his gestures, So again, I don't want to jump the gun. But yeah, so he was like 3 or 4 at that point. Again, huge blow to me and Mom, that was very difficult. And then it obviously started taking a toll on us, I think, as the mom, she felt a lot of guilt, understandably, I did too. We dealt with it in our own ways, as it got older, mine started getting into a little more anger, a little more drinking, a little resentment. God, why me? I started getting pissed off. I'm going to family parties. Why do my nieces and nephews get to run and play and talk and this and that? Paulie's there with his head down, you know, and mom was kind of dealing with it in her own way. But obviously we started bumping heads, you know, it wasn't the blame game, but it was just, you know, you were a young parent. It's already hard to have a parent, a son as at a young child, let alone these big, you know, huge events in our life, you know.
Yes. Now, okay, and again, I'm asking, I'm trying to be very sensitive to everything because the last thing that I ever want to do is offend you, you know, and your beautiful child.
Yeah. No offense.
So my thing is like, does blindness run in families where it does hit someone eventually?
Yeah, well, that was the hard part because at that point you start questioning everything. You go down the line of, you know, well, nobody's blind in our family, and just, well, nobody's really autistic in our family, you know. So you start doing the history, and it's like, I think that was the hardest part. There was nowhere to get any information from. It's like, it isn't common. He was born on time. He wasn't premature. It doesn't run on your side. It doesn't run on my side, you know. So I think the doctor said it could have just been an X chromosome, you know. And at that point, I think she felt a lot of guilt, you know, as a mother. Again, nobody's blaming anybody, but I know she took it really hard in the beginning. I felt like mine came later, a couple of years, because I had to be the strong one. But then, as you'll see in our journey, I had a big meltdown a few years later. But yeah, I think it was just one of those things we never got the explanation. And, you know, I said, you know what, at this point, it's nobody's fault. It's not even worth looking into. It is what it is. God gave us this beautiful child, and we're going to deal with it. We're going to handle it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you could sit there and cry and complain and why and point fingers and this and that, but we never got those answers. And, you know.
Did you ever, while you're raising him, meet other parents that had autistic or possibly blind children as well?
Yeah, it was very rare. There was a few, and it wasn't until, even I think in 2014 that I started my Paulys Project Instagram page where people started coming out of the woodworks because I couldn't find that connection. So I think with me, like I would go to blind parents, parent support groups. And again, they would say, oh, don't worry, our kids, you know, can't see but have time. And I'd go to both groups. I'm like, nobody understands this thing. You know, Paulie is a rare case. It's not normal. So I would try to meet other parents, but nobody was really dealing with the same situation. So when I started that Instagram page, there was a lady from Texas. Oh my God, keep sharing about Paulie. I have a son who's blind and autistic. And then this father in New York, so I was like, there's a whole world out there, you know, that, you know, obviously Paulie's not the only one. There's a lot of them out there, but I think it was just putting it out there that we started gathering a huge support group. So that was really cool.
I don't know why.
Oh, good, man.
Give me a second. Please forgive me for that.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Next time, just mute my mic, bro. But anyways, I apologize to you guys. This doesn't really happen to me, but man, the other day we had a cloud full of weed in here, and I didn't even cough, bro. But
right?
here I am drinking Gatorade.
Yeah. It's a Gatorade. Yeah,
goes on the wrong pipe, and this is what happens. So,
yeah.
Okay, so now, you meet with these. Well, they reach out to you through this Instagram page, and as a parent, how did that help you cope with what you were dealing with? Was it I'm not alone type of feeling? Yeah,
definitely. No, I was so happy because, again, I know we kind of skipped a period, you know, as Paulie went through his younger childhood, you know, years. He never came with a man, you know, so he'd go through his little things. And sometimes he'd hit himself. He'd get upset, frustrated, you know, but it wasn't. And I thought those are going to be the hardest years as, you know, maybe from, you know, 2 to 12 or whatever. Man, I had no idea when the teen years hit. It started getting very aggressive, testosterone hormones, and the doctor's like, well, think about it. You know, his body's changing. You know, like, what were you doing at 18? I don't want to talk about it. He's like, exactly. Yeah, poor guy's, you know, frustrated. He's, you know, if you can't verbalize, you know, I put a hamburger. Okay, Paulie, eat a hamburger. Well, how many times do we make decisions every day? We say, I don't want a hamburger. I want a burrito, whatever. So he'd get in, slamming. I'm like, man. So he would bite me, punch me, kick me. We went through like 18 to 22 was so rough, you know.
Wow.
Excuse me. We'd have to call, you know, 911 a couple times, like glass broke. People would come in my house like, what the hell happened? And Paulie would flip tables, and it was just, poor guy. I can't picture the frustration. You can't see and talk. You know, he feels just so trapped. So, you know, getting back to that Instagram page, I had already went through all that. So that's why I was like, man, and I felt so, like on an island by myself. I'm like 2 o'clock in the morning, he'd be punching, biting, we'd be rolling on the ground. He'd kick my butt. I mean, he was strong, and he would just have these horrible meltdowns. And I went through that. I just felt like I was alone. I mean, I had my family, but in the heat of the moment, 2 o'clock in the morning, it's just me and Paulie. Like, nobody knows what I went through. Sometimes I would cry, like, God, why me? Like, how are we going to get through this period? Then you think, am I ever going to have to put Paulie in a home? Like, you feel guilt. Like, it was just a horrible period. And again, once I started Paulie's project, we'll get into that, but I started that page and parents reached out to me. I'm like, I wish I had a Paul out there that I could see like somebody else is going through it, because I didn't have anybody that could relate with me. So everybody would give me this advice, and I'm just like, dude, I've already tried that 1,000 times over, you know? So, but I just remember everything. His head was his weapon, so we always had to put a helmet on him. We had padding and pillows on the walls. We had to harness him when the school bus would come. I mean, he was the only one that was assigned 2 people. That's how aggressive he was.
Really?
The school district would have one here and one there, and he'd crack windows with his head. The bus windows, the thick ones. I mean, you look at him back then, he was a skinny toothpick, but man, he did damage, you know? So I had PTSD. I was a bundle of nerves, anxiety, you know? So people see us now, oh, Paulie's always on your videos smiling and this, and I'm like, we've been through a lot. He's at a better stage. He's 25. I feel like he's been over the hump. But man, there was that period that was just so rough for us.
You know, you brought up the school bus. Can we talk a little bit about his education? Like, okay, once again, here you have this child who's autistic and who's blind, but you're thinking about education, school. How old was he when, I guess, you started to either to take him to school, or did you homeschool him? Yeah,
they basically, you know, once you get in the school district, they had a special school for autism. Okay. So at that point, it's not even like about grades. Like, oh, he's in the 6th grade. It's like, you know, he would go through the cycle up until he's 18, and you know, he would have, you know, they would have to bus him in and stuff like that. But yeah, it was hard. You know, he had special classes and stuff like that, but it's not like your typical, like, you sit in a desk all day and we're going to teach you math. It was just, you know, they'd have special services go to his school. Like, okay, Paulie, today it's mobility therapy with your cane, or it's, you know, different tactile, like, you know, a lot of specialists would come to his school program and work with them, you know, and at that point it was just keeping him comfortable. You know, it's like, who cares what he's doing? Just keep Paulie happy. You know, like they had pool time, they had toy time, snack time, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, it was rough. Like I said, they didn't even know what to do with Paulie, because that school was just for autism. I think there was only 1 or 2 that were blind as well as Paulie. So it's almost like everywhere we put him, nobody knew what to do with him, because it's a little different, you know. So it was tough.
What about his hearing? Was his hearing normal?
Yeah, his hearing is like quadruple ours. You know, that's why we call him the Stevie Wonder. Like, when your other senses are gone, your others pick up. So his hearing, I mean, that's the whole thing with Paulie's projects based about music, because music was our lifesaver with Paulie. So if he'd get upset, I'd throw on some oldies or whatever, and it would soothe. He would just start rolling his head. And I was like, you know, he's taking in the music. You know, that's why he loves smell, candles all day. He smells the candles, or loves hearing, you know. So figure, you can't see and you can't talk, but he can smell and he could hear, and all those touch, everything, all the other sensories super heightened.
Like when you mentioned that he would crack, I guess, the school bus windows, was that because he was frustrated, or?
Yeah, I think honestly back then he just didn't want to go to school, and he couldn't say, you know, most kids are like, I don't want to go, Dad. Well, we'd have to force him on the bus, and he'd be so pissed off, like, I'll let you guys know I don't want to be here. And he would just, I mean, they'd have a special harness to put him in. Whatever we tried, it never worked. I mean, yeah, those I thank God for those aides on the bus, but they took a beating. Like, I'd see they're all bloody and bruised, and I was like, they're like, this little skinny guy does some damage, you know?
Yeah. So around what age would you say that he started getting physical with you?
Yeah, I think that was, like I said, from like 15, 16 to 22.
And that was just him. Like, for the first time, do you remember the first time that he actually got aggressive with you?
Yeah, it was actually with our oh no, yeah, it was my mom. That was back then when I used to have my mom and stuff used to take him, drive. It's crazy because it's been, God, I don't know how many years that nobody else has driven him in the car but me. But back then, my mom used to come. We had a family business. She'd come to our work and pick up Paulie. I'm gonna watch Paulie a couple hours. But that's when I see the changes, and I saw he was getting a little feisty, and she said, oh, I'm going to take him. I said, I don't know, Mom. He seems pretty upset. And she says, he's fine. Put him in the car. And I said, no, something's not right. And it was just like a father's intuition. She's like, what do you, she thought I was kind of exaggerating.
Yes.
And I said, I think I'm going to go in the car with you. She's like, what? What are you talking about? Just get him in the car, Mom. No, I need to be there. So anyways, I was in the car with them. My nieces and nephews were in the back. And I think we were halfway, and he just freaking exploded. He jumped out of his seat, went back, banging his head, slammed his head on the window. I mean, I couldn't even reach him in the back, so we pulled over, and my mom was like crying, screaming. I mean, nobody's seen him act out like that.
Yeah.
My nieces and nephews were under the seat. Oh my God, Paulie, you know. And I had him like in a headlock because his head is his weapon. So if you just sit back and let him go, I mean, he's gonna bang it on everything. He's gonna hurt himself. So, anyways, at that point, I was like shaking, holding him because he was so strong. And my mom's like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "Seriously, call 911 at this point. I need help. Like, I need another physical man to, you know." So that was like the first meltdown. And he was small back then. So as the years gone, I mean, he'd beat a lot of, he'd hurt us, you know. So, but yeah, that was the first time. And I look back now, it's like he was so skinny and strong, you know, scrawny. But, you know, the doctor's like, you know, most, a lot of autistic kids or special needs kids is almost, they have this superhuman strength. They don't, you know, because they're like, yeah, most kids are running, they're in sports or swimming, they let it all out. Well, Paulie, it's all bottled up. He doesn't know his own strength. He can't let it out. So when he does, it's like, it's rough, you know.
Wow. Man, I'm almost speechless, bro. So now he's growing up. He's a teenager. Can you tell us a little bit about this Paulys project thing?
Yeah. So basically, Paulie was a teenager, and you know, I was like, man, I need an outlet, you know. And my going back in time, my uncle, he was hardcore gang member, East LA. He'd be in and out of prison all the time, but he'd always get released and he'd go to Skid Row. It was like a cycle, like prison, release, Skid Row, prisons, you know. And he was almost like, he loved us, but he kind of kept us arm's distance. I live a dangerous lifestyle. Come and help me and this and that, but don't get too close to me, you know.
Yes.
We knew he was a bad dude, you know. And so my mom said, hey, it's your uncle. We have to love him. So we used to come meet him on like 6th and San Pedro, give him a cigarette cartons, hygiene kits, blankets, and stuff like that. And he says, hey, if I'm going to be out in Skid Row, at least I'm going to eat. I know the missions. Like, I know how to work the system. I can jump around, get my stuff, and then never fails. He'd do some dirt and go back to prison. Excuse me. But I always remember that time and looking out the window, being this little kid, little boy looking out the window in Skid Row. And I'm like, man, it was a scary place. Homeless everywhere, you know. And I got older, and I'm like, man, I want to go back to that same place because it was a piece of my heart growing up, you know, and all the stuff. My uncle had passed away. And so I was going through a lot of stuff with Paulie, and I said, you know what, my passion is I want to help people like my uncle. So I started volunteering at the Union Rescue Mission, going at 6 a.m., just handing out breakfast. I'm going to go solo, not tell anybody, it's not a big deal, just go serve breakfast, you know, and it really, like, soothed my soul, you know, and...
do you think that was inspired by you seeing it when you were a kid?
Oh, 100%. That planted the seed.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't think I just would have showed up and said, oh, I want to help, you know. It was going down there, you know, all those years, looking out the window and seeing these people, and... as I'm older, like, how do I go back to that area and give back now? I'm of age and I can do it. So I think that definitely planted the seed, you know. And then Paulie was born, went through the rough thing with his mom. And, you know, we found out Paulie loved music, you know, so there was that connection. So one day I was serving breakfast, walking in my car, and I remember seeing this guy with headphones. And I just referred to it as a big old Colgate smile. And I immediately saw the smile that Paulie had with music with this guy. You know, I was like, dang, like the light bulb went off. It was like a God-inspired moment. I was like, all right, something just clicked. Like seeing this homeless guy with headphones, dancing, big old smile. So I went home. I was like, man, God, you put something in my heart. Like, how do I connect the homeless, my passion of helping the homeless, music, which is our lifesaver, and Paulie? How do I intertwine all those things? I said, I'm going to start something called Paulys Project. And in honor of my son, Paulie, we're going to share the gift of music. I'm going to ask my family and friends for donations. Me and Paulie are going to buy these old school AM/FM radios, and we're going to go around Skid Row and just hand out radios. And that's the birth of Paulys Project. That's kind of the backstory.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful thing, man, because, you know, that's like you're giving back, you know, to something to a seed that was planted years before that, and now you're back with your son doing this. Yeah. How long now have you guys been doing this for?
Yeah, so now we've been doing it like 10 years, you know. But the first 2 years, Paulie would go with me, and Paulie would hand him the radio. You know, he was a lot younger, and they didn't really know his condition. You know, they're like, why isn't he looking? I'm like, well, Paulie's blind, and why isn't he talking? I'm like, well, Paulie's autistic. And Paulie would go in the tent and hand him the radio, and they had like this dumbfounded look, like, wait a minute. So your son can't see and talk. He's like a little angel, and he's giving me a free radio? Like, who am I to complain? Yeah, I'm homeless. I live in a tent. I could still get up and do something with my life. This young man can't see and talk. You know, so if the story flipped the script on them, I thought they'd be more excited about the radio. They were more intrigued by Paulie. Like, wow, like it sent a message, you know.
Yeah.
And, excuse me. And in my mind, I was like, there's certain things I'm going to miss out in life. As a father, Paulie's not going to drive a car. He's not going to go to prom. He's not going to be in sports. I'm not going to be a grandfather. There's things, I'm more of a negative thing in my head. But that's why I had so much passion for Paulie's project. But I said, this is what I can do for my son. This is his legacy. This is how I'm going to put my son on the map. We're going to start this project, and this is in honor of my son. And it just gave me like this good feeling. So when I brought Paulie and they saw him, I was like, I forgot the saying, I always hate when it sounds like you've been dealt a lemon, because Paulie's not a lemon, but you turn it into lemonade, whatever the saying is. But I felt like we were dealt a tough situation, but we're turning it into something beautiful.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is beautiful. Now, let's get back to the music part just for a bit. How did you find out, or how did he let you know what songs, or what type of genre, what type of music he liked?
Yeah, people always, that's always the famous question, what kind of music does Paulie like? Well, in the beginning, because, when I went through my rough years, it was always like hearing the hardcore rap. And I remember driving around 2 a.m. drunk, like, wow, F this, F that. But then I would put on oldies, and it was almost like grab the wheel, Paul, get home, to calm me down.
Right.
So I'm like, well, if Paulie's already a little flustered about other stuff, let's just start with oldies. He doesn't have to hear the hardcore stuff. So yeah, when he was younger, I would just put like all like old Motown, old soul, just oldies. And I didn't know, but I would put both of them on, headphones on, and he would always take one off. And I told the doctor, why does he always take one off? He's like, because he wants to hear what's going around. Like, think about it. That's all he has is his ears. So he doesn't want you to block his hearing, because that's almost like his vision, So I was like, oh, so he would take one off, and then he would just roll his head back and forth. So we'd call him the little Stevie Wonder. I said, okay, this thing, music, this is huge, So, when he would have meltdowns, sometimes the music would calm and soothe him, So, excuse me. So going back to hitting the streets, we've been doing it 10 years. The first 2 years would be me and Paulie. But the third year, I could tell he's getting a little older, and he wasn't liking it. And I think it was this over-sensory. When you're in Skid Row, it's loud, the smells, the fighting, and I could see, like, why am I going to drag him out here? Like, he's not digging it anymore. Right. I could tell he was like, he's getting mad. I'm like, all right, like, it's too much for him, So, stayed with mom or family, and I would go out, and I said, I'm going to continue this. And so for the next 2 or 3 years, I would go by myself. And I really started getting involved. And I said, if I want to, help the homeless, I want to go in the trenches. I'd go down there at night and connect with people. And a lot of the homeless were like, man, why are you coming down here by yourself? Like, what's the catch? The first year, they thought I was like an undercover, like, okay, predominantly black area, it's Mexican and black, but like a Mexican dude down here by yourself in parts of Skid Row, you shouldn't be down here. And you're asking us, how can I help? Like, what are you, an angel? It sounds too good to be true. Like, what's the catch? There's always a favor for a favor down here.
Yes.
And I'm like, honestly, I want to help you guys. So I want to get to know you. I think it's about building relationships. So they were just like, what's up with you? But I think after the years they saw me, they'd shake my hand like, dude, you're the real deal. You really are here to help us. You're not here for the clout in the picture. Like, you're coming down here by yourself. I mean, that tells us, you're the real deal.
Well, you said something right now that stood out. Well, several things. You said you're not out here for the clout in the picture. What does that mean?
Well, I think there's a lot of guys, again, if you want to go out and help and do a kind gesture, it's cool. But we know there's certain people that are just like hey, look at me. I'm out here once every 5 years. And, and that's cool. Again, I stay in my lane. I don't knock people, but there are certain people that try too hard to show what they're doing. Obviously me, I share, I think there's a way, even today, my biggest talk is about pictures. I had 20 volunteers today. We hit the streets, Community Sunday, and we go out the first and third Sunday. And I said, cameras are a big thing. I'm not here to exploit people, but there's a right way of, I'll share pictures to bring awareness, show people how bad the conditions are out here, but we're not about, look at me, the pat on the back and this and that. But people know me by now. I've been doing this 10 years. I don't need pictures or not. It's not going to change who I am, and people see right through it. But no, there's certain organizations where it's just like, look at me, the whole, like, if they didn't have their camera, they wouldn't be going out, so yes. I know the people that are real and the people that,
and I guess they can see it, You've been going out there for 10 years. And the only reason why I bring that up is because I've been catching a lot on YouTube. Podcasting is a big thing. I started this about now going on 3.5 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. And, I really don't like the way certain podcasters are headed, because I've seen some interview people on Skid Row. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they give them. Yeah. But they'll do little clips. Yeah. And ask them, so what do you do for money? And then they'll say something like sexual. I do this, I do that, I do that. Yeah. And they'll post it up and get like millions of views. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're obviously doing it for monetization, not because they want to help. Yeah. And you said a key word too. I don't want to exploit,
Yeah.
anyone. I think it's very, very sad when people are using those people
Yeah.
for monetization,
Yeah.
for views,
Oh,
to
100%.
grow their page.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
I had this conversation the other day with my friend. I said, man, I'd probably have 100,000 followers if I really showed what I see. The sex, people walking around naked, people shooting up dope, people stab. I mean, imagine being out there 10 years. I've seen the worst of the worst, but homelessness already has a negative stigma. I don't want to put more out there, negative
you.
thing. And it's, I see these people that do exploit them. Hey, here's 20 bones, say something crazy, and it's like, I'm not out there for the shock value, the shock factor. It's like, I show what I do. Maybe people think my page is tame, but it's like, I still show a lot in what we see, what we do, and to bring awareness, and I'll interview. But any homeless person that I interview, they know me by name. They know me for years. So a lot of these people that do these crazy videos and drive-bys of Skid Row showing the worst stuff, yeah, you could do it because you're in and out of there. Well, guess what? I have to deal with these people next week, and they're on Instagram. And if they know I'm exploiting, like, trust me, I walk a fine line. I'm deep in these streets. I deal with hardcore Bloods, Crips, everybody. And the next week, they hug me and they shake my hand. And they know word goes around the street quick. So if they thought I was any bad guy or trying to exploit people or trying to make them look bad or see people at their worst, I mean, I get my head blown off, So it's not a game out there. Like, I'm dealing with some killers that, like, I bring new volunteers and, like today, a couple are a little nervous and they're like, Paul, this is scary. Some of the blocks we go down, I said, trust me, I know these guys. And they'll come out, hey, Paul's here. And they hug me and they're like, dude, that's years of building relationships. You can't just come down these blocks and get love like that,
Yeah.
So
very, very true. Now let me ask you this. Before we get back to Paulie's project, do you think the homelessness here in LA, Skid Row, will ever come to an end?
It'll never come to an end. I mean, they can try to lessen it, but I think that the frickin' cities just jumped on the boat so late. It's like there's 70,000 homeless in LA County, and it's like you'll put a little dent, but people say, what do we need? Well, we need permanent housing. It's like don't do shelters, but sometimes they just recycle back out, But when I talked to my friend and I'm dangling a key, he said I'd say it's almost half and half. I can get you housing today. Would you want to go? Half are like, get me the hell out of here. It's scary, get me in housing. And the other half, they're so used to it. I call like chronically homeless when you've been out in the streets, I don't know, 10 years or longer, but that's their community now. They're like, we don't want to go in shelters. We don't want to abide by the rules. Maybe you can't drink. I can't bring my crap in there. I can't bring my dog. There's too many sets of rules in there. I'm fine out here. I'm good. I'm going to die out here. It is what it is. So sometimes you get that attitude. So there's always a fine line, I treat everybody the same. I don't say, well, I can help you, but I'm not going to help you. Then the longer you're out there, you'd get the mental illness, you get the drug abuse, the alcohol and stuff. So it's a whole cycle. That's why I don't judge people. I think my son has prepared me for this work because it's not for everybody. I go down there with people like, I can maybe hang a month, but I'm done. I don't know if you've done this 10 years consistently on the weekends, but I said, but think about what I do in my house. I clean my son's butt every day. I change diapers. I feed him. I bathe him. I cut his nails. I clean his ears. I shave him. So when I go out there and I'm caring for these people, it's in my nature. I'm kind-hearted. I don't think I'm doing anything special. So people pat me on the back. Look at Paul, put me on a pedestal. I'm like, dude, this is just what I do. I do it at home anyways. And I come out here and it takes a special person with patience and compassion. That's why I say, I think Paulie's prepared me for this. Because if I didn't have Paulie, I wouldn't be doing this like the way I'm doing it.
This is going to be a real tough one for me to ask you. And because, okay, my mother was on her deathbed, and some of her last words, she said to my sister, again, I have 5 brothers, 4 sisters. And she said, that she was going to be going away because the doctors had given her like 6 months to live. And she passed away within weeks, okay? And she told my younger sister, I have money for you saved up here. Mm-hmm. If you get hungry, there's tamales, frozen in the freezer. And just hearing that, it was terrible for me to hear because this person is leaving. My mother's leaving now, and she's leaving what little she could to my younger sister. Mm-hmm. And I know what you just said, taking care of Paulie, bathing him, changing him, etc. Do you ever think about when I get older and it's time for me to hang it up?
Yeah.
Who's going to take care of him?
Yeah. No, it's hard. I mean, I get emotional, like, thinking about, like, God, what if something were to happen to me tomorrow? Because I know I'm so invested. Like, nobody could do it. Like, I'm telling you, when I'm with them, like, I don't go out. Like, I have Paulie from the morning till night, and it's just us, and it's just such an intimate, like, think about it, he smells me. It's so many little things that I'm thinking, God, if something happened to me, like, nobody, but then again, I mean, he does have mom and stepdad and sister and brother, so he has two different worlds. He gets the best of both worlds, but I would be such a huge lot, like, I cut his hair, I do all the things, so it's really hard for me to even think that, so I just take it one day at a time, and I know at least his mom and there's a whole family that would take care of him. On my side, I have my sisters and stuff, but yeah, I think of that sometimes, like, God, what if something were to happen to him or me? Like, I don't know. It's just, it's heartbreaking. It's going to come. It's part of, of life. But yeah, right now I'm like, I still got my strength. I could still do this. I'm going to write it out as long as I can. And he takes a lot of energy out of me, but I wouldn't want it any other way. And I love him so much. And I think having that hole that my dad not around made me even a better dad, because I'm like, Paulie's not going to have that hole in his heart that I had growing up. Yeah. It was hard. So I'm going to be there even more so for him.
No, and that's a beautiful thing, because a lot of people always think this. They always say, well, he's like that because of his dad. That's not necessarily so, man, because what if you had a dad that was absent, but you chose to be a better dad because your dad wasn't there?
Yeah.
So you can't always say, he turned out that way because of his dad.
Sometimes I call BS on that. You could change the cycle. I could easily been like, I'm not with mom anymore, and I got to deal with the son. I'm out. Yeah, that's the easiest way to do. But a freaking man steps up and say, this is my situation, and I'm going to handle it, so.
Okay, here's where you can educate us, inform us, and tell us, prepare us for certain things. Let me give you an example. And again, I want to choose my words very, very wisely. Say that and maybe you've had experiences like this. Maybe you're at a pop-up or somewhere with your son, and maybe you get a child that, comes up and asks you, what's wrong with him? How do you answer? How do you answer a child?
Well, I think to be honest with you, the first couple years, like, I would try to take him out, and we'd get the stairs. We'd be at Vaughn's. Paulie would throw something on the ground, and I just see people just frozen, like, staring at us. And I'm thinking in my head, like, can one of you guys help me? Or he'd knock the cart over. Like, I'm struggling by myself, and and I would just get frustrated. I remember one time, a guy was just and sometimes you give kids a pass. Their curiosity, they're staring, but when it's an adult, and it's like, dude, like, you see me struggling with him, you could tell something's, off, and or one guy's like, dude, you want to take a freaking picture? It'll take longer, because he was literally just like staring at us. So then I said, I already have to deal with the stress of Paulie taking him from point A to point B, having his diaper back, anything could go down, he could have a meltdown. I said, the hell with taking him out in public. So, like, for a couple years, I would take him here and there, but I wouldn't want to deal with it. And then I said, no, Paulie, you know what? We're going to go to the freaking store. We're going to handle, like, nobody's watching. We're going to go out and do our thing. But then he was having these meltdowns and stuff. So then I was like, all right, it's too much for him. He doesn't want to go. He'd wet his diaper. We'd always be in a scenario. So I'm like, okay, first he didn't like going out, then me. And then I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know, probably longer. But I said, let's try this again. And we've been cool. Now, if you watch, I do videos. We're at Vaughn's. He's pushing the cart. He's smiling. I ignore everybody around me. So it's like, now if people look at him where I would have been offended or like, what are you staring at? Hey, meet Paulie. Yeah, he's blind and autistic. Want to give him 5? And they don't know what to do. They're kind of like, oh, shoot. And I think it's just people don't understand. So the more I open up and I'm friendly about it, they're like, oh, really? Oh, he's autistic and blind. So now everybody around there, everybody knows Paulie. They love him. And I think I've been more open to it and not getting so offended and seeing Paulie happy in his response. And I'm telling you, from 5 years ago to now, it's like night and day. Our attitude and us going out more. And there's been a lot of change, you know.
And again, the reason why I ask is that I think a lot of people, when they see, like when you said it, when they were staring, I guess when you were going through that, would it have been wise for them to possibly give you a hand, or would you would have accepted?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Like, open the door for me. I'll pick up the thing. I'm struggling. I'm looking around like, we're on an island by yourself. Could somebody, like, the guy's just there staring. Paulie just knocked over the cart and all the groceries fell out. Right. Well, I have to hold Paulie and pick it up, and nobody's helping, I
see what you're
So it could have been like, dude,
Yeah.
So that's...
Instead of just there, you could have been a little bit more helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think people lack compassion these days,
No, very, very true. Now here's one thing that I've struggled with, and this is why I ask, because growing up, my mom still at a swap meet, several swap meets, but this happened in the Paramount swap meet, which is still open. And I hate to even use this word, but, well, I think the proper word is Down syndrome. Okay. And there was a kid that walked up to me and it scared me.
Yeah.
You know, it scared me. And I backed off. And then the mom said, it's okay. It's okay. And I said, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
She said, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But she was educating me because I was scared. I didn't know what to do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that sometimes I think when people looking, I think they feel that way and they don't know what to do.
No, I get it. I was like that too. It's like you're not really familiar with it. It's kind of you're a little nervous. You just stand off, and you know. Now again, because I'm deep in it, I have a whole different perspective. So but yeah, I could get where the easiest thing is just kind of not do anything. You know, people are a little nervous. They're not familiar. You know, I get a lot of people go up to Paulie. They're like, tell him. Blah. I'm like, he can hear better than all of us. You tell him. You know, or sometimes people don't know how to understand or read Paulie. They're getting nervous. And then once they start with the, hey, give them high five, and then they kind of put their guard down, like, oh, okay, you know.
Right.
And they just don't know. I get it. Like, if somebody introduced me to a blind and autistic child that I didn't know back then, I'd say, what do I do? How do I engage with them? How, you know, so I think it's just kind of educating people, letting them feel a little comfortable, because it is the unknown. You're a little nervous. So, I've totally changed my perspective, but I was probably like you too, like, I don't know how to deal with it, you know, but I think it's up to the parent to, you know, instead of getting pissed off and mad like I used to, that was a horrible response.
Right.
It's coming up saying, hey, you know, this is our situation. I think people are a little more understanding.
You know, this is probably the most toughest conversation that I've had here on Roadium Radio. It truly is, because I'm approaching it from a perspective like, I don't know, but I want to learn. You know, I want to learn, you know, so, and that's why I want to give people an opportunity eventually to call in, and if they want to ask or help, or how can they be a part of Paulie's project. So did this always start at Skid Row, and it has always only been at Skid Row?
Yeah, so basically, 10 years ago, it started in Skid Row, and I always say Skid Row is the hub. So, you know, when I was there the first, 3 to 4 years, I'd see a lot of organizations go to Skid Row. You know, they feed, they give clothes, hygiene kits, and that's great. That's like the Mecca. That's where everybody goes. But I remember one time I was leaving, and I got lost on a back street, and then I went and what I call like the outskirts of downtown LA, like the outer boundaries, and I was just going street after street. There's like smaller encampments, 10 tents here, 15 people there, 10. But I was like, man, this is horrible back here. It's like this unknown world that nobody comes past this, you know, the Skid Row area. And I would just go block after block. And that's when I said, you know, I think this is going to be my niche. Because I got out one day and I'm like, you know, I was talking to somebody and they're like, we're kind of the forgotten. We're the unknown. You know, we don't want to go into Skid Row because it's so dangerous. We stay on the outskirts. But then again, we lack on all those resources. We don't get food and all that stuff because we don't want to walk that far. So I was like, man, maybe I should come out and help these people. You know, they're getting neglected out here.
Yeah.
You know, so that kind of was my niche. So there's all these back streets. Like today we did our community Sunday outreach. We got the first and third Sunday of the month. Today we had like 20 volunteers, but we hit like 6 or 7 encampments. So like in the old days in Skid Row, I just post up on a corner. You know, you see that everybody hands out stuff. But to reach more people, we're mobile. So I'll have a caravan of 20 cars. We post up at one encampment, 15, 20 people, you know, and I have every car do something different so they can engage with the people. I want my volunteers involved. So I said, hey, this car, you're doing hygiene kits today, your socks, your shoes, your clothes, your water. So they go up to, it's almost like Halloween. They come up with a bag. Hey, how you doing, Joe? Nice to meet you. Yeah, here's your socks, you know, and, you know, again, I always get the negative, oh, you're enabling the homeless. I'm like, you come out here, you see how bad these conditions are. This lady's living in feces with rats crawling on her. We're enabling her to live a better day. The hardest part of homelessness is loneliness. And a lot of times they say, we don't get acknowledged in weeks. You come up and say, you know, Steve, how you doing? You give him a hug. He's like, my God, nobody's calling me my name, you know, so we forget the humanity side of it, you know, and I think of Paulie, what if I would have gave up on him and said, I'm going to throw him in a home. I don't want to deal with it. You know, so when I come out here, people want to deal with homelessness, but I do. And, you know, as I know, half the people are going to stay out there and die. And it is what it is. It's a horrible situation, but we have a lot of success stories. We've got them in housing. We've got them into services. So I don't stereotype and I don't give up on people.
Yeah. So when they say you're enabling them,
yeah.
Like, so just don't do nothing then?
Yeah, that's the people that, and I said, well, what do you do? The people that bark the loudest do absolutely zero. So it's like, dude, just stay on the sidelines. I'm going to stay on the front lines in the thick of it. You know, you come out, you know, if you want to judge, let's see your perception. Come out with me on a Sunday. And a couple have, and they come out and they're like, wow, like, this is different. The connection, the bond, and they love you guys, and you know them by name, and this you're getting this like today, perfect example, you know. And I don't post everything, but there was a lady that she had, you know, when it comes to the kids and the women out there, I take it up another notch. So we had people with services that are connected, and she said, Paul, I've only been out here 2 days ago. I guess her house caught on fire. She had some crazy backstory, but she had 2 little boys with her. And I'm like, you can't be out here.
No.
You know, so it just so happened we had some new volunteers, and they're connected with services and housing, and they got all our information, and they're getting her off the street, you know. But those are the things we do. If we wouldn't have been there, she'd be out there tonight, you know. So we're just out there trying to help people.
And you know what goes on there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If you're a woman out there, yeah, 90% of the time you're getting pimped, you're getting raped. Like it's a bad situation, and this is for me being out there 10 years in a row on the weekends. I know what's going on.
Now somebody may ask, you know, and this is where you continue to fill us in. Where do you get these finances to bless these people with these gifts?
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, we've been blessed up to the point where just me sharing, you know, and I'll do a post like, hey guys, we need cases of water, we need hygiene kit, you know, your basic, I always say the basic necessities that we take advantage of, others are praying for. We wake up, yeah, we have toothpaste, we have deodorant. Well, when you don't have resources, you don't have anything, you know, so I'll go on a post, hey guys, we're low in this, and, you know, we have Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, please donate, you know, because I know like today we came across 150 people. So that's it adds up, 150 socks, 150 meals, 150, you know, underwear, whatever, all the stuff we give out. But as we're growing, we're servicing more people. So it's like we're trying to, you know, grow Paulie's project, maybe get some more funding or grants. I haven't really tapped in. When I came in, I said it was just something from the heart, an act of kindness. I didn't come in from a business perspective. We're going to be this big nonprofit, you know, so I'm learning and we need help, you know. So I'm telling people, I see these big organizations, oh, they got 50,000 funding from the city. And that I'm like, we're the ones that are on the front lines who really need it. These organizations go out once every 6 months. Right. So I'm like, I got to start tapping into it, you know. So I have a team and we're working on trying to get more funding. But, you know, if people today ask, how can we help Paulie's project? We need donations, we need volunteers, and we need you to share what we're doing, you know, and that's how we've been growing, you know. But yeah, we're definitely trying to grow and get more grants and more funding, and, you know, because we need help. You know, I've been blessed up to this point just to get by and do what we do with what we have. But
if people want to help, what is the best way? Is it just through Instagram to reach out to you through there?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook, we have like all the above. You know, I have my email. You know, Paul. Everything's pretty much at Paulie's Project. But yeah, Instagram. You could DM me. I'm pretty good with the DMs. We're on Facebook, Paulie's Project. We have our website, pauliesproject.org. You know, I'm sure we'll share all the links, but yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. But yeah, if you have any resources, you know, on Tuesday, I'm going to go speak at a school. We have these Paulie's Project big donation bins, and I've had a lot of schools reach out to me and say, hey, we want our kids, they're 5th graders, they need to learn to give back to the community. So we have a school project. We're going to give us your donation bin. We're going to collect hygiene kits and socks, but we want you to talk to the 5th grade class and share about Paulie and how you evolved into Paulie's Project, you know. So I like doing stuff like that to get others involved.
Awesome. I have a question that somebody submitted, and it said, what were some of the programs and supports that you used to help him grow and develop?
Yeah, well, like I said, we were at a special school, Leroy Haynes School for Autism, so that helped. We were also involved in like the San Gabriel Valley Regional Center, but you really got to be proactive as a parent, you know. It's hard because you go through your cycles where it's like you don't want to deal with it, and then you get all these roadblocks, and sometimes you get help, and then sometimes you don't. I could say, like, dude, most of the years we got help where you have the IEP meetings, you have a whole board. How can we help Paulie? But after 22, man, it's almost like we were thrown out to dry. He kind of exits out of school, and then it's like you figure it out. You get adult program and stuff. And with Paulie, it's so hard because his history was a lot of the behavior issues.
Yes.
So they wanted to put him in a behavioral institute, and I went in there. I mean, people are adult men. It was like from like 22 to 60. They're screaming, they're hitting, so they're bouncing off the wall. It was like a mental institute. I'm like,
really? I
don't want Paulie going here because he's going to resort back to his old ways. Like, he's actually doing really good right now.
Right.
They said, well, that's one place we could send him. Or the other program is they call medically fragile. And I went in that one, and it was almost like they're all older and they're in wheelchairs with bibs, and, you know, they can't move or talk, and they're just with their head down. Like, he doesn't belong there either. He needs somewhere right in the middle. So it's almost like they've never found the right place for him. And I feel like his whole life he's been shuffled around. you know, but we do the best we can. And, you know, but yeah, I'd say as a parent, God, you know, back then I really didn't know anything. I just had to learn, but just get involved with the school districts. There's advocacy groups, there's, you know, regional centers, there's a lot of resources out there.
Okay. And then the other one was, what was the biggest obstacle you have overcome in Paul's life so far?
Definitely that gap from like, you know, 16 to 22. I thought when we were in it, I didn't know I was ever going to get out of it. And just to see how far we've come now, that's what people always ask. What were the roughest times with Paul? I'm like 16 to 22. You know, now he's 25. I feel like we're over the hump. He's calm. He sleeps all night. I was in a recliner for 3 years right next to him because he would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. He would just start punching himself in the temple. I'd have to get on him. I mean, people have no idea how bad it was. Wow. So I have like anxiety. Like even today, like last night the night before he's sleeping, and I heard a little noise. And I freaking jumped up. I'm like in a karate stance. I'm thinking he's hitting himself, but I'm getting flashbacks of the old days. He was sound asleep. He was just snoring. But that's how like messed up I got, you know. But now, you know, he's fine. But I feel like we're over the hump. But we went through a hard time, you know.
As a parent, I guess I want to ask, you know, do you know what would cause him to get up in the middle of the night and punch himself?
I don't know. I think it was. God, I could never put my finger on that. From 18 to 22, I think it was like hormones, testosterones, just his body changing. You know, you might say, hey, little junior, you know, your body's changing down. Like, he doesn't know. Like, he's maybe a kid's mentality, but he's a man now. So I think it was just, I think he's, I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it, but there's a lot of physical and aggressive, you know, stuff.
Okay. This one's the last one. How do you manage Paulie's project while still providing the highest quality of life for Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the hardest part. You know, it's like my life is dedicated to Paulie, and Paulie's project, but I felt myself, you know, being drained more. So I had to have some more Paul time because we were like, how do you balance it? You know, like Paulie could have a meltdown in the morning, or we could have a rough morning with Paulie. I'll take him to mom's house, then I'll go to Skid Row. So-and-so got stabbed, so-and-so overdosed, you know, and then I come home. Like, even coming here, I told him, like, I normally need 2 hours to decompress. I see so much in the streets, and it's heavy on me, and it's hard, you know, so it's like I need more Paul time to find a balance, to have fun, to go out, you know, because it'll catch up to you, like a friggin' fall of a heart attack. It's a lot to balance both, you know, but I've done it up until this point, but I think I need to be more Paul selfish in a way and go on. People are like, when's the last time you went on vacation? I'm like, I don't really leave because I had to be close for Paulie, and they're like, just go somewhere quick, Vegas for the weekend. You know, you have to have a life. So that's something I got to work on, to tell you the truth.
Okay. And I guess for me to add on to that, let's just say, I mean, this is none of my business, but let's just say, hypothetically, you wanted to go out on a date.
Yeah.
Is that still possible today? Do you have somebody that can watch him? You know.
Yeah. And again, it's not like I have him every day, because he goes back and forth with me and mom. So yeah, there's those days I could pull off, you know, and I've been doing more of that. But yeah, it was really hard for me to, I don't know. I just felt this guilt or like selfish, like I can't do fun stuff for me because it's always about Paulie's project and the people. Like when it's raining, I'm thinking of so many people out there, you know, like I'm so invested and involved. Like it's really heavy on the heart, you know. People sleep well at night, you know, and I'm thinking of, you know, Felix, Dee, all these specific people, older ones that come to mind. Like they could be freezing tonight. I've lost a lot of people, homeless people, dying of hypothermia in the rain. So like it's real personal to me when it's raining. Like I did a post, I was down there again. It wasn't for the pat on the back, but 12 o'clock at night, I was out there handing out tarps to cover people because I've lost a lot of people in the rain. They just freeze to death. You're in wet clothes, shivering all night. Like it's extreme, you know.
Well, you know, let me say this again, Paul. You know, it's a true blessing to have you here to share these experiences with us. And I hope that people will reach out to you and that would continue to support Paulie's project so that you can also be a blessing to other people, you know, because I do believe that you are a blessing to those people out there. And I think when they see you out there, they know that a blessing is coming. So I do hope that people will continue to support, people will continue to volunteer, you know, and whatever we can do to help Paulie's project, you know, we want to be involved. Now, I noticed you have a little pamphlet there. Can you kind of share with us what that is?
Yeah, just some information. My friend made it recently, so we just give it out. Just as, you know, people say, hey, how can I support Paulie's project? It's just a little history, what we do, how we started. You know, it tells about our big. Twice a year we have a big event at Gladys Park. You know, recently we had Danny Trejo was there. We had George Lopez bought all the radios. So we have some big boys involved. You know, and they're saying, hey, we love what you and your son are about, the inspiration, the backstory. So. Yeah. And then we have a event for autism coming up April 22nd. So yeah, if you follow the Paulys Project Instagram page, I'm always saying, there's volunteer opportunities, upcoming events. There's always way to get involved with Paulys Project. And I think initially people hear the story and it's the wow factor. Like people are going to hear this like, wow, this is touching. But then the next day it's forgotten. It's like, well, it's a great story, but we need your continued help. Like you said, how can you continue to support? So we always reach out and like, we truly need the community's backing.
Is it safe to say, like, even if they cannot financially support, can they still contact you and say, I want to volunteer?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's always my first thing. Like, hey, we need, we have like, if you click the link in our Instagram bio, we have an Amazon wish list and I've created it that it has like socks, underwear, sleeping bag, all the stuff we need. So I said, click the link on our Amazon Paulys Project wish list, order on there. If you can't, we got Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. Can't do that, volunteer. If you can't do that, just keep us in prayer. There's always a way you could support Paulys Project.
Always a way. Okay, we're going to go ahead and is there anything that I didn't ask you or that you want to touch on? Because you know what? I want you to take your time and share. If there's anything I possibly did not ask you before we start taking calls or before anybody wants to call in and ask you a question.
Man, I think we covered a lot of ground. I know it's hard. It's like a lot of our stories, half of it's Paulie and the journey and what I've gone through and then how we've turned it into Paulys Project. But I can't really think of anything, specific, but anything else?
Let's go ahead and let's put the number up there and let's see if anybody wants to call in. If you guys want to call in and ask a question or, let's go ask for some info, go ahead and do that. If not, we'll just continue to conversate and continue to have Paul inform us about this. So here's the number up. Yeah. Okay. Good. So at this time, let's see. We'll just put these on until we get a phone call. But we'll continue to.
We'll keep it rolling.
So you were just out there today, if I'm correct.
Correct.
And for how many hours would you say? From what time to what time?
We met at Farmer Boys at 10:30 on Alameda downtown, and then we wrapped it up at 3. But today was a big group. Like it's a lot. It's draining in a good way. But we went to like 6-7 encampments. Probably helped about 125 to 150 people. But I'm the responsible one out there. So like if something goes down, like there was a lady mentally ill and she was cussing people out and she was after me, and that's what I had to deal with. And I'm like, hey, chill, relax, So when I go there, I really pray and I say, God, give me the strength because I don't know what I'm going to come across today. You might have somebody who's not in their right mind. You might have 125 amazing, thankful people, but there's always one that had a bad day, and I'm the hitman because they're gonna say, hey, Paul's in charge, because they'll say, I want 2 blankets, and then they'll come to me. Paul said you can only have 1, so I'm the bad guy. I had to deal with that. But it is what it is.
Okay, all right, you guys. I'm leaving the number up there just in case if you guys want any more info. You guys can call in. Maybe I didn't ask a question that you guys need to ask, or maybe you may just want some more info on again, on how to get involved, how to volunteer, how can I give, etc. His Instagram is up on the page. If not, it will be on the description, but once again, I would like and I would hope and pray that people would continue to support and volunteer for Paulys Project. So once again, the phone lines are up. If not, we're going to give it a couple of more minutes and we'll take the phone calls off because, let's see. We got one right here. All right. Hopefully we can hear this one. Hello, caller. Because it's always usually the first one that gets cut off.
Yeah.
Caller, call us back. Call us back, caller. Here we go. Caller, your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah.
Lines are up and he just hung up. Okay. He called just to say, yeah. Caller, I don't know if your phone died or bad connection or what, but if you want to call back, call back. So, once again, how to get involved, get in contact with Paul Avila here on his Instagram. That's up on the screen. It'll also be up on the description. Other than that, as far as him, what's some of his favorite music today?
Mine or Paulie's?
Paulie's.
Oh, I say like oldies, hip hop, reggae. Oldies is always his go-to. You know, I finally got like an old school record player, and we got some vinyl. So
Oh, dope.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you?
I'm mostly like the like '90s hip hop, like my whole era. I remember, I used to love DJing, and I used to follow you. But yeah, my mom had. I always remember she had like the old school. You know, it had like the big old FM receiver on one side
Right.
and the one turntable. And I remember like she used to have the Johnny Math like during Christmas time, and then I would scratch and jack up our needles. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "No, there's this."
Caller,
Hi,
how you doing? Your name and where are you calling from?
I'm doing well. I'm calling from Long Beach.
How you doing tonight? You have your
I was
question?
going to ask Paul a question. Yeah, I have a question. So the project that he's talking about in April that he's going to do, what could volunteers do? Like, let's say you're interested in helping out in some way. What could we do? Where do we sign up?
Yeah, that's actually this is actually my first like autism event that I'm putting on with two other groups, Remix Mobile Station. Say, guy, I can't even think right now. And Old School Functions, and it's going to be an event for autism. It's going to be in Artesia, April 22nd, from like I think it's 12 to 6, and we're going to have booths there. We're trying to have like more like resources for autism. I think Harbor City Regional Center is going to be there, the Parents Place. So yeah, it's bring the families. We're going to have food and drinks. We're going to have some live acts, you know, some entertainers and stuff. But we're going to be posting up a flyer with more information, and just it's come on down. And it's a family fun day, and I don't think you really have to sign up. It's just open to the public.
Okay, but that event is open to the public.
For that particular one, yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just, you know, my daughter was in high school and they had a lot of volunteers and whatnot. So I was kind of the mom that would take them everywhere to do different events. So her friends and her are into doing, you know, things for the community to give back. So I was just curious to find out. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off too, because that's like for our autism event. But I know in summer we're going to have our Skid Row Giving Back event. And that's probably where we'll need the volunteers for that, you know, serving food and all that. And I'll post that as well. So yeah, there's always volunteer opportunities.
That's great. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, we're going to keep it pushing until somebody else. So you were talking about the turntable.
Yeah. So, I was really into that. Like, again, I just got so turned on. It was a buddy, Andy, of mine. I was in 8th grade, and he gave me this crate of records, and I had no idea, but it was all East Coast. It was like Fat Boys. It was Run DMC, you know, all the regulars, Houdini. But he had a couple like West Coast people in there. So I was confused because I was like, wait, they're from LA, because everything was all like the New York thing. But I used to just love like the scratching. I'd jack up my mom's turntables, the needles,
I did the same thing.
Break them. I didn't know what I was doing. It just sounded cool.
Yeah.
And I remember my first record that I got was that Dream Team. You know, Dream Team is in the LA. What was it called?
It was called the LA Dream Team, but I forgot the name of the song.
Yeah.
It's in the house. We got to call her.
Yeah.
Call her your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Tony, my name is Jason. I'm calling from Bell Garden.
Hey, how you doing, Jason? You got a question for Paul?
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you, Tony, for having Paul on. Hey, Paul, I'm the father of a 6-year-old autistic daughter, and I just wanted to know what you felt about A.DA therapy.
Have
you had any experience with it?
Yeah, I've Paulie's pretty much had like so many different services. I say, you know, try it, you know, and if you don't like it, you could discontinue, but I just say you got to, get very involved. What's like, does your daughter have like certain tendencies or certain behaviors that you're trying to?
She's nonverbal. She's 6 years old, nonverbal, pre-verbal, they're categorizing it now. But she's fully functional physically, but she has basically like the mindset of a 2-year-old. So we're trying to get her to, you know, kind of advance her social skills, basically.
Now, are you guys involved with like the school district already? Has she been like diagnosed and everything? You've gone through the getting services and
The
stuff?
regional center.
Mm-hmm.
Regional center. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they offer. Well, they need. They said ADA therapy is available, but I looked it up online, and a lot of parents of autistic children didn't like the therapy that their children were getting with ADA.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it's
I was
always
wondering
hard.
if-
Like, I think
if
it's
there
like a trial error. Like, there's certain services people said don't try or try. As a parent, you just gotta try it. And if it's something you don't like, you just discontinue it. But you don't know until you try it. So, I always kept the door open to different things, But yeah, you're doing the right thing. Just be proactive. Ask a lot of questions. Get involved. I feel like I took that role late. I let a lot of years go by. Then I got really involved. But yeah, man, just stay on it, and God bless you and your family.
Well, thank you. And one more question: who did the artwork for your sweater that you're wearing?
Oh, yeah, this is the letters are my friend Digital, and then the characters Saints. I know we didn't even talk about that, but I was really into the graffiti art. We have murals all over LA. There's a huge one that's known off the 10 freeway. It says Paulys Project.
Yeah, I drove by that one.
Yeah, that's a
I drove by
landmark.
that
It's
one
been there like
many
6
times.
years. That's like a free billboard for us. Yeah. That's been there a long time. But yeah, there's murals of Paulie all over.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So Digital, you said?
Yeah, his name's Digital. He did the letters, and then there's a guy named Saints, and yeah, there's some local graffiti crews.
Can they be found on Instagram or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe what I'll do is I should post it, this thing, and then I'll tag them on it on my Instagram so you can follow them. But yeah, they do amazing artwork, and yeah, we've been blessed with so many talented artists over the years. The graffiti whole underground culture is really taken on to Paulie's Project. If you think of where that Paulie's Project mural is, and it's been untouched for 6 years, and that just has a lot of respect in LA for Paulie's Project, and they love what we're doing. Some really good people, some amazing artists over the years.
All right, cool. Thanks for your time.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Okay, let's go. We're going to keep it pushing. We got a couple of more minutes if anybody wants to call in. I appreciate those two callers, because they're calling with some good questions. So I want to thank them ahead of time. So if anybody else wants to call in right now, the number's up on the screen. Call in and ask Paul Avila anything about Paulie's Project or anything as far as volunteering. How can you give, etc. His Instagram's on the screen, and it also will be on the description once this video is up, seconds after we finish his interview. But now I know you wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
When did that start? Like, did they approach you after this call?
Okay.
Caller, your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, this is Ahmed from India, buddy. How are you guys doing today?
What's up, Ahmed?
Hey, I just want to give a shout out to your guest, Paul. He's doing great things, and we need more people like him because, on social media, you're only seeing, fighting videos, just negative videos. So I commend you posting, more positive videos.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, homie.
And shout out to other great fathers like you because, there's a lot of irresponsible fathers out there. You're pretty much having 2 full-time jobs, with, your Paulie's Project, and, taking good care of your son. So, God is going to bless you with many good things to you and your family. So whenever times are tough, just know that God is going to bless you.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Appreciate you, man.
It was deep.
Shout out to Tony for having, a guest like you. And to the rest of the team, Norbis and Alex Cervantes, even though you have like 5 edibles in your system, it's okay.
So, thank you. Thank you, Ahmed.
Okay, have a good night, guys.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay, let's keep it going, you guys. So you were telling me about if I have to cut you off because we get a phone call.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But as far as do you get these guys to hit you up or do you hit them up? How do you meet these artists?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I know in the beginning I reached out to a few, and then people started seeing Paulys Project murals throughout LA, and then they started following us and reached out. And yeah, we've had tons of murals. There's a big one in Skid Row of Paulie by a guy the name of Decipher, and we had a mural off of Washington. Like, there's been a lot of them, but I'm really involved in, like, you know, I have a lot of friends in the graffiti scene, graffiti world, active to old pioneers, because that was what I was into growing up. And it just, yeah, man, people love what we do. And there's some good people out there, and they're like, no, I want to do a mural or a T-shirt design for you or whatever. And so how much can I pay? No, are you kidding me? For all you and Paulie do, man, this one's on the house. You know, it's an honor, you know. So
that's a good thing.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, in my we have a Paulys Project warehouse where we store our donations, and I probably have, like, you know, 30 canvas pieces up just from different artists, and just say, man, it's an honor to give it to you, you know. So that's cool.
You know, last time I saw you was actually the only time I actually met you was at To Live and Die in LA events.
Yeah.
You know, and you go, hey, Tony, what's up? And I turned around, I was like, oh, shoot, it's him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So what do you have there on the table, like, for people to buy whenever you do pop-ups?
Yeah. I mean, we try to, you know, obviously get the word out, network and stuff. And, you know, shout out to Frankie, To Live and Die in LA. He gave us, you know, a nice little spot there. But, yeah, it was more, you know, obviously we have some merch. We had some T-shirts and hats. But, you know, it starts the dialogue. What is Paulys Project? Well, do you have 10 minutes? Let me tell you what it's all about. You know, so we got a lot of people just wanted to start volunteering from that day. People that, you know, wanted to donate. So just being out there. I mean, a lot of people know who we are anyways. But yeah, it was kind of shocking, which was cool. Like, I don't know how many people I said, oh, Paulys Project. They're like, dude, I already follow you, or I already know the whole story. And I was like, wow, it's like we have a bigger spread than I think a lot of people have heard our story. Because when we came out in 2014, we were all over the news. We're on every radio station. Like, we were at LA Times, we were in the Tribune. So it really, you know, got our story out there. And, you know, we've been hitting it hard ever since.
I hate to bring this up, but I have to bring it up. Have you ever seen anybody possibly that didn't know what Paulys Project was, looked at you and goes, oh, shit, another one of these type of thing, and not even know? Like
a little bit. Like, I say I get more on the positive side.
That's awesome.
You know, once you open up and share. But I mean, once in a while you get a few jerks. Even people are like, you must get on Instagram all the comments. I'm like, dude, I'll get a negative comment once a year, and you have to be a real a-hole to, like, what could you say bad about Paulys Project? You know, and it's always the ones that don't follow you. It's just some, you know,
some profile with no picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, some ghost account. And it's just like, dude, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, one time somebody took a shot at Paulie. That was pretty messed up. And then, of course, you know, like, yeah, it was pretty, like, it kind of bothered me for a second. But again, no follower, ghost account. This guy's just being a loser, trying to rile me up. I wrote a paragraph back going off on him, and then I deleted it. I didn't even send it because I'm like, if you're that much of a jerk, you're like, it was something to the effect like, why would you even want to live? All he does is suffer. What a horrible life. What a lose. Like, it was so bad about Paulie. And I'm like, somebody had to take the time and write this? Like, dude, you don't even deserve a comment back. You know, it was just whatever. Like, you shook it off. But
I mean, you know, like I always said, is your life that bad? Is your life that horrible that you have to take the time to try to bring somebody down just because you're miserable?
Exactly.
You know, and you know, I'm a very bold person, but don't even have the balls enough to put at least your real profile picture on there. And most accounts that talk that are all private accounts.
Exactly. Yeah, didn't follow me. Private accounts. Like, this guy's just trying to chime in, you know, get me riled up. But
yeah. So, okay, everybody, the number's up there if you guys want to call. If not, I'm going to end the calls. We got about 5 more minutes left, but
can I ask him a quick question?
Yeah, go for it.
Hey, when you're out there, have you ran into any people that voluntarily want to be out there?
Yeah,
like they don't care having a house or nothing.
Yeah, man. Every scenario, all the above, everything you could think of. Like I said, some people want help, some don't, some. You know, I think the longer you're out there, you're just like, it is what it is. Like, these are my neighbors to my right. These are the neighbors to my left. They have my back. And I don't want to go in shelters with a set of rules. And, you know, it's kind of lawlessness out there, but they'd rather take that chance than going somewhere in the unknown. And I have a lady right now, we just got in housing. And it's really like a mental thing because I went to go visit her and she's like, I'm like, it looks like you just came in right now. She was all cold. She's like, well, yeah, last night I spent the night in my tent. And I was like, wait, you're in housing. You have this beautiful room. And she's like, I've been along the freeway for 10 years and it's noise. It's my community. It's screaming, all the chaos in the streets. And I'm coming into this little 4-wall thing in silence by myself. And it's scary and I'm nervous and it's too quiet. And I was like, wow, I never thought of the psychology behind it. That's like somebody coming out of prison or whatever, you know, you're used to that little cell or whatever the adjustments you have to make. And I was like, well, you know, hopefully we can get her to stay in her place. But yeah, it's not easy.
Is there, and I'm only asking because I'm sure there is do they have, there's people out there that do need the help, that do receive these donations like the socks, the underwear, etc. Is there people out there that are punking those people and taking their stuff?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like everything, like we had our big Gladys Park event in Skid Row, and we have a sponsor that gave us 400 brand new Nikes, and I'm talking killer Nikes. There was Jordans, there was Air Max, Air Force Ones.
Wow.
And we knew what comes with the territory. Some are going to keep it, some are going to sell it, some are going to get punked for it. You know, it is what it is. But if I got blessed with 400 shoes, who am I not to give them out, you know? So I give them out in good faith. But most of the people I saw, they're still wearing them. They're all jacked up, but they've been wearing them. And, you know, some people are like, you can't give them nice things. Like, it's 400 people you're talking about. Who am I to dissect? You can have them, you can't. You're going to, you know, I give them out. Exactly. So it is what it is. But, you know, think about 10 years of giving stuff away. I don't discriminate. I'm blessed and I send the blessings out and it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we can go ahead and take these off. If somebody gets, we get another phone call, then we'll get it. If not, then don't worry about it. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Other than that, like I said, if there's anything else that we possibly didn't ask, anything you want to share, anything you want to promote, you know, right now is the time because I really want you to take your time. And if there's anything else that you need to say or share.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think just getting the word out there, you know, I appreciate the opportunity. And, you know, I hate when people just end it as it's a good story and it's done. You know, please follow us on our Instagram page. You'll see how much work we're doing out there to help our community, but we can't do it alone. Like, we need the support. You know, right now I'm trying to start a Patreon, which is, you know, the monthly subscription where it's like, I don't want to be scraping every month. Are we going to get 200 in? Are we going to get 500? Are we only going to get 50? If I knew like, hey, somebody, and say, they always say, don't get the Starbucks for one day and set aside $5, $10 for Paulie's project. Like, if we have those monthly donations coming in and I know like I could buy this amount of food, I could buy socks and underwear. So that would be my biggest push right now. Like, if you could jump on that link in our bio, there's a link that has our Patreon app on there. Man, go on there, be a $5 sponsor a month, $10 sponsor a month, $100 sponsor a month. You know, people always say, man, we're in the hub of LA with all the entertainers, you know, all the athletes, all the musicians. Like, Paulie's project is like, we get support, but we're barely scratching the surface. We need a lot more support. And I know there's good people out there that can help us.
You know, there's people that have dropped money on the live chat here. They've dropped $1. Mm-hmm. Anything helps. Look, this is what I'm a firm believer in, okay? Many years ago, I read this passage in the Bible, and it says, give and it shall be given, okay? Mm-hmm. The way I've always understood God, at least in this aspect, was this, that when you give, God will give back to you. Mm-hmm. The only way that he's ever going to give to you is if you give. Yeah. Now, somebody may say, well, yeah, Tony, but how is he going to bless you if you don't have anything to give? It's not necessarily always monetary. It could also be your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it could also be your time. So believe me, if you give, you will be blessed. Yeah. And let me tell you something, many times just making somebody's day, making somebody smile. Yeah. That's all within the blessing of all in its own. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm encouraging everyone not only to follow you, but to support you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like I said, in the beginning, the first couple of years, all we do, we're known for just giving old school AM, FM radios. And people are like, man, you're giving them a battery operated. I'm all, well, think about it. A lot of them can't charge it. They're not going to download music. They need your old school AM, FM. And I put batteries in there. So I think I lost count a couple years ago. We had already given out like 10,000 radios, and who knows now. But it's funny how that radio came back to us, because I was out there last week, and there's sometimes really cool stories. And this homeless guy was asking about they all love Paulie. I mean, I don't care how much time goes on. Somebody come up to me, how's Paulie doing? You know, and he just impacted so many lives. But I'm like, man, Paulie's good. And he's like, he still loves music, right? And I said, yeah. He said, wait right here. And he went back to his tent. And he gave me a little JBL, little Bluetooth. He's all, this is the only speaker I have, and I listen to music all day. This is for Paulie. And I'm like, dude, Paulie already has it. Like, I felt bad. Like, you barely have anything. Who am I to take from you? This is your little, but it just showed me how much, you know, and then at that point you start like offending people. Like, I want Paulie to have this. It's this kind gesture. And I'm like, all right, I'll take it. But,
Right.
So he's like, this is on behalf of all of us, because without the inspiration of Paulie, you wouldn't have helped thousands of people over the years. So this is just a little token to Paulie.
Yeah.
So I took it and I started playing the oldies, and Paulie had it up to his ear. He's doing a little Stevie Wonder. I was like, man, that's cool. Like that little radio he gifted to Paulie, So it's just cool things like that
Awesome.
we're blessed.
Awesome. Other than that, man, I want to thank you for coming through. I want to thank you for sharing, Paulie's project, the story, the trials that you went through, and also the triumphs that you've gone through, and many more that you will be going through, as far as the blessings that are coming you and your son's way. So again, this one, it was very challenging for me, because when it comes to women and children, it's a very sensitive subject for me. Like my mom, again, she's no longer here with us, but that was my superwoman.
Sure.
I lost my best friend. I had a older brother that before I was ever born that passed away. And believe it or not, even though I've never met him, I always say to myself, one day I'm going to see him. So in the future, I'm still going to be able to see a brother that I've never even met.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
So those things really touch me, and to know that you have a beautiful son like this, it's very touching for me, and it's very touching, I'm sure, for all of us. So other than that, man, if there's any shout outs, anything you want to say so we can close, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. Just like to thank you. I mean, honestly, for sharing. I mean, it's always an honor. People say, do you get nervous? I'm like, man, I'm just sharing our passion, my life story. But definitely shout out to all my family about the Paulys Project team. It's like I always say, me and Paulie are the face of Paulys Project, but we have hundreds of volunteers that go out, giving countless hours to give back to our community. So we're nothing without our Paulys Project family,
Yes.
Yeah, and I have so many friends and people that follow us and supporters, and shout out to my buddy Jacob. I talked to him earlier. Project Coffee Cup, he's another one doing amazing things. Hood Santa, Tito. There's so many of us that are doing good stuff out there. And again, it's not for the pat on the back. It's just spreading love and kindness, and that's what the world needs. So I hope me and Paulie's story can inspire us, because we could just leave it at a son and father doing some great things just in their own life, but we've taken it up a notch and taken it to give back to our community. So there's no excuses. We can always find the time to give back and show compassion. So again, man, just thank everybody who's supported Paulys Project over the years.
Absolutely. So with that, I want to thank you for coming through. Just know that if there's ever anything you want to promote, anything you want to share, you're always welcome back.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Because, if I say that I'm for our people, if I'm for helping, contributing, blessing, then I better be about it.
Sure.
It does me no good just to talk about it. I better be about it. So I'm also encouraging everyone that's watching to also be about it. If you do care for people and you want to bless people, and you possibly don't know how to do it on your own, contact this man, follow this man, ask him how you can volunteer, how you can give, etc. Let's bless someone. And before I give my shout outs to my team, I do want to say this, Paul. I did a podcast last night, and much love and respect to Viva Mezcal. He had me speak. He gave me an interview. I was hoping he would ask me this one question, and then nobody ever asks me this question. But my thing is this: if you were to ask me, when Tony's long gone, how do you want to be remembered? Okay, my thing for me is that I was a blessing to people. I want to be a blessing to people before I check out, before I hang up the cleats, if you will. Okay, I want people to be able to say, that guy blessed me. I want to be able to be blessed. I truly believe that I have been blessed to be a blessing, and I'm never going to hoard all those blessings to myself. I will, if you will, be a blessing to those that I can be a blessing to. So, but it's only one of me. We need more. We need more.
Definitely.
So other than that, let me give a shout out once again to Norbert, News of Norbies. If you guys didn't catch that one, we just did that a couple of days ago. Also, give a shout out to Alex Cervantes Enterprise. Let me give a shout out to my son, B-SKANLESS, for helping me promote this. I know my son, Brian, was in contact with you before.
Yeah, shout out to Brian. Yeah,
Yes.
he kind of made this happen too, and your whole team over there. Amazing guys.
And also to the Hip Hop Jedi. So once again, God bless you. God bless your son. And continue to be a blessing.
Thank you, man. God bless you.
Thank you for your
Appreciate
time,
that.
brother.
Thank you.
And we're out of here.